proud the management to present to you the evening star attraction. Here they are, back after their exclusive 3-year tour of Europe, Scandinavia, and the subcontinent. Won't you welcome from Calumet City, Illinois, the show band of Joliet Jake and Elwood Blues, the Blues Brothers.
Two. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I'll introduce you from them all over the Britain and America. We have Stephen Ransom, Roman,
Hello,
Mr. AWK, and me, Miss TJ Maybe. Hi. And who's not seen the Blues Brothers? Come on. Kelly, is that you saying you've not seen the Blues Brothers? Test. New camera set up, by the way, just so you're aware of that. My camera broke about 10 minutes before I'm due to go on, so I had to bring out my backup. So here you go. Right, come on, if you want to say hello to everybody. He's been actually jumping up and down trying to get our attention. Now he's got attention, he doesn't care. So, when was the first time you saw the Blues Brothers? Not this week, obviously.
About 20 years ago when it was shown on ITV late at night, and I just fell in love with the movie.
Oh, God, I can see why, but it's
the
just one of those ones.
It's the music behind that film really drove it to where it was.
Yep.
Oh, definitely. You look at the people they had in it.
Oh, yes.
Even cameos. Carrie Fisher, Twiggy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Carrie
They've
Fisher
obviously
was
got
hilarious.
Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles. You just look at them all.
Anita Franklin put
superb,
in
isn't it?
all that effort, especially with the dancers, in such a small set. It was absolutely brilliant. And then the Blues Brothers decide to join in on the dance. And you just got, I forgot his name, but him just standing there, like taking it. And then, you know, he just walks out at the end. And there's a funny thing. When they open the door, what's his name? Bring his name up for a second. John Lee Hooker.
Aye.
Yep.
He's still arguing with a band member outside when they open the door, saying, I recorded it. No, you didn't. Yes, I did.
And there's a lot of it, basically, think about it, there's things happen that are irrelevant to the story, and if they were taken out, it wouldn't change the story at all.
No.
But they're fun. They're fun bits and pieces that just add to it. I thought were really good.
Especially the song where at the beginning it's called She Called Me Katie. That bit at the end where the music goes so dun dun dun, and then it just kicks in when it shows them all. It is an absolute iconic movie that should never ever be remade or touched ever again.
There is an extended version.
Yes.
I actually picked it up on, I think it was Voodoo. I talked about it briefly, maybe when we were talking about the movie coming that we were going to be doing this. And I didn't know the extended edition existed until I was wandering through a bunch of things were on sale. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize this was here, and I am going to buy this. So it's you know, does it change anything really? No, but you do get more of things. And I think we've talked about it before. Extended doesn't always mean better. In this case, I think it was just fine though.
Yeah.
Extra custard. Who's complaining about extra custard?
Exactly. 11-year-old me wishes he could have seen that, because that's when I first saw this movie, was, you know, back when Kennedy was president and I was just a boy.
Yeah, I must admit, the very first time I saw it, actually, must have been about 15, 20 years ago. It was definitely a long, long, long time ago. Actually, it was on video that long ago. So it wasn't even on the TV. It's just a video I'd got. So God knows when.
Mm.
Yeah, it was fairly new out on video at the time.
I've got to mention Ray Charles.
Ray Charles is superb, isn't it?
I know. He owns a music store.
Mm-hmm.
The wee boy with a gun.
Yeah, and he knew how to shoot that gun and miss.
It was just the fact is, these poor kids.
Yeah.
I just thought it was absolutely superb.
Especially when he had to put that poster up in that montage section and it's upside down. Ray Charles knew how to play jokes on himself. That's the thing.
It's just the earlier, it was the Arizona Nazis, was it not? It wasn't the Illinois ones.
Yep.
Oh,
it was the Arizona ones. I just thought were hilarious. What's up there? Arizona Nazis. I hate the Arizona Nazis and all Nazis. And they just drove over a bridge. And that's the way to actually just show the incompetence of that. It makes you laugh at them.
Yeah.
And it just shows how ridiculous it is. And they were played very well. Even the ones that were meant to be stern, sort of, they look and then they sort of, as if to say, do we need to stand here? So no matter how bad they had to look, they just look silly doing it. And that's exactly what you're meant to do in a movie.
So what was your favorite scene in the, of the many awesome scenes in this movie? What is your favorite scene?
Oh, see, there's
one
a lot
of scenes.
Yeah, this is tough.
That's the problem. I actually like the scene with the penguin, which she hovers in.
She just floats.
She flows, and they shut the door, and she flows backwards. I just thought it was absolutely hilarious. And the funny thing is, just before I was watching this again, I was watching Support Your Local Sheriff, James Garner. And there's the bit where the wee old woman is talking to him, and she's pointing up to the girl in the tree, going, she's a wild one, and it's the same actress.
Kathleen Freeman.
Yeah, wow. She's the one that's actually standing, pointing up and laughing with James Garner about, I can't even remember who was on the tree. So it was, and it was just one of those coincidences. Watch one movie after the other, and it's the same actress in both parts. But I just thought that was hilarious. Just the fact is, she would be beating them up.
Oh, yeah, it was
Don't do things illegal. I'm not taking your illegal bad money. Yeah, they do. They commit so many crimes to get this job that isn't illegal. That they still pay it. It's not as if they give it to her, and she basically paid the enemy. So it wouldn't have mattered if they'd gone and stolen. Because they committed so many crimes to get to that point, even if it was a illegal job.
Hey, Jimmy.
Got the reference.
Joliet Jim.
How come you guys, especially you, Peter, you always steal my favorite scene every single time when we have one of these? Because I just so love the... what is she? Like Mother Superior or whatever it is for the orphanage.
The Penguin, she was called.
The Penguin, yeah. That is literally the standout. And I was like, we need to save this. And she's just goes like, you're naughty boys. Go away.
It wasn't even a click. It was, she broke the ruler, hitting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the scene that precedes it where, oh my God, I'm having a moment. Help me. Elwood is telling Jake, he's like, we got to go see the penguin. He's like, I don't want to go see the penguin. You got to go see her. And then because he knows what's coming, he knows he's going to get his ass beat, and then he does. And it was so worth it.
I know, and it was a case of don't cuss. Oh, Jesus Christ, slut, bang, Christ. Yeah. Every time they were hit, they would say it again.
And then they roll down the stairs, and she backs up when the door closes.
I just thought that scene was absolutely amazing. The bit she's sitting there, and they come in, the door shuts, and they go,
yeah.
It's just so well done.
What about-
You just imagine somebody just set up that perfectly.
What about that statue of Jesus Christ? That would put the front up everyone.
Boys, I keep telling y'all.
It reminds me of what an old Dave Allen sketch. He's talking about 5-year-old going to the Catholic school, and he walks up, and the Mother Superior says, and he says, he opens the door, and there's a big crucified Jesus, and he thought, and she says, "Do you know what would happen if you're bad?" And he looks back and goes, "Uh-huh." And it's pure terror. It's the whole
I don't want to do
imagery
whatever that guy did.
exactly. So it's that part always reminded me of a Dave Allen sketch, but I just loved the bit with the penguin. It was just so well done, and even the violence she puts in the two of them, yes, it's just the whole indifference, even though they're swearing at her and saying "Jesus Christ" and getting slapped around. I just thought it was well done. It's just one of those ones that.
Yep. Well, because I mean, the musical bits and the non-musical bits were all really good. Because usually you'll have something that lags, something that isn't great. And this one had it all. I mean, the scene in the restaurant with the shrimps. We want your daughters. We want to buy your little girls. If you don't agree to this, we're going to come here for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
See, that was the one scene I thought it shows that these two, especially Elwood, was not a nice character. He was not a nice person to get on the bad side of. And so to me, that one scene I didn't like, just for the simple fact is the rest of it, it was a funny scene, but it didn't actually, it basically showed Elwood would do anything, even to the point he would ruin someone's life to get what he wanted, which the other ones he was trying to convince him. But that one, that one scene I didn't like for that. It was a hilarious scene, but when you look at it from a different angle, it shows him not a good light. Whereas all the other scenes, he's just trying to do something good. Whereas that one, he's doing something so bad because he's wanting to do something good, and it takes it away from it. I think that was the only one scene I thought in the whole movie.
Who was that? Was that no? That was which band member was that?
It was a guitar. It wasn't a guitarist. It was
trumpet
player.
Yeah,
piano player.
Yep. What was his name? I don't remember his name.
and
on my IMDb open on my other thing.
Mr. Fabulous of the trumpet.
Mr. Fabulous.
Mr. Fabulous. Because when they went into Ray Charles' music shop and he kind of peels apart off the Hammond organ, he's like, this?
Yeah.
That was Murphy Dunn, or Magic Murph.
Yeah.
We've got to mention the car at the beginning. He traded the Cadillac for a microphone.
Right.
And he goes, but I don't like the car. Next thing you know, he drives over that bridge, fixes a cigarette lighter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like the car.
Yeah.
It's thrown on me.
Now, let's go to the car. I just want to talk about the first car chase through the mall.
Oof.
See, the thing is, not only the amount of cars they destroyed, the amount of property they destroyed.
I know.
Is impressive, shall we say.
Yeah,
it is.
At Toys R Us alone.
I know.
It's even the fact when they're wrecking place and going, oh, they've got a burger. Oh, they've got.
Yeah, they're looking at the things in the mall.
As they're destroying them. Oh, there's
See,
a lot of things in this mall.
They were mentioning names that we never heard of in Britain.
Right, Pier 1 Imports.
Yeah.
The only one was J.C. Penney when they smashed out the window. It's the only name I recognised. So it was, but it was just hilarious that the fact is they were going, down here they were going, oh look, I said, well, I've not seen one of them for a wee while. Oh look, go Bears, I thought they'd gone out of business, and it's things like that. You would be going, whereas it would be funny for us, but I appreciated that the fact is it wasn't just made up ones just to show the humour of them smashing the place up.
Yeah.
To me, they were stores that were popular, but they had gone out of favour, or they were on the dying legs. That's the way it came across to me. I don't know how popular a lot of those the ones mentioned were in the States at the time.
Well, Pier 1 Imports was kind of like a new thing up and coming. It became even bigger after the film.
See, there you go. I just assumed it was ones that we would see as ones that were high street normals, which were starting to phase out because of all the new ones coming in.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Toys R Us was a brand new thing.
Yeah,
It was.
in 1980. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it might be a brand new thing, but it's a brand old thing now.
Well, now it's a mostly gone thing now.
Yeah,
Actually, most of those stores, well, malls in general don't really exist. That scene would be very hard to do now because there are no malls. In fact, and I'm glad they won't do it again because that dreaded Blues Brothers 2000, which I'm not a fan of, and I can't pretend that I am. I know. You can't hit them all out of the park, pal. But because you can't replace those guys, it doesn't work. And they brought a kid in, which ruins almost every movie that happens.
Of course it does.
So I think, I mean, the car was its own character in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It really was, and it wasn't a regular car; it was a magic
even
car.
when they make the speaker and put it on the thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. That's actually my favorite scene. Is the demise. It's the demise and the camera's reaction to its demise at the end of the
the car when it's falling and just falling and falling.
It just fell apart. They finally parked it. They're right in front of the building, and it just falls to pieces.
Yeah,
God was holding it together.
The one with the Nazi car when it's just fallen.
Oh yeah.
I always loved you.
It's been followed for that long. They're basically looking at each other, and he just turns around to him and goes, "I really love you."
I'll tell you something. That thing where the car just shoots off the ramp, and the ramp is not that high, and it goes beyond the law of physics as it's just flying in the air.
Well, physics didn't play a really big part in this movie.
No, especially you look at the first time with the cop cars when he goes down that very small hill. How many cars tipped over, crashed?
Yeah.
It was spectacular.
But it was the car model of the day that was used. Yes, it was used by law enforcement and everything, but it was really bouncy. It had a really wonky, like center of gravity. So
just
you
like
couldn't
me, baby. Just like me.
Yeah, you couldn't do those car chases that Hollywood was presenting in those days. But Hollywood obviously had more professional drivers than the police squad did. And the police used it because it was soft enough to do like the boxing in and the T-boning and the whole swirling another car around and everything. That's why they were used, but they were really not that good, which is where the Hollywood came in and they literally pushed them to the limit and they could flip on literally like a grass twig.
Yeah. How many of these police cars do you want me to destroy? Everyone!
Oh, nice Fifth Element touch there. But yeah, what was it? I don't have the Wikipedia page open, but I think it was 106 or 107 police cars that they did. Well, painted cars to look like police cars that they smashed, but wow.
They must have emptied a whole police station.
At least. Well, you look at the bit when they're actually chasing them, and you just see, it must be, is it Manhattan? With the bridge overhead, you just see all the cars behind them, and it's rows upon rows upon rows, just goes into the distance. I just thought, yeah, that's quite a lot of cars. Just so they could turn a corner and everyone and them go and each other. I just thought it was well done. It was just, I think it was actually played so well that you had something silly happening, then you had some music, then you had part of the story. It was almost like three parts together. They would just crunch them together, but they did it in a way that it didn't actually sort of phase it. Because like
Aykroyd just turns to Jake and he's just like, Jake, I've got to make a turn off. And then he like jumps off the side of the highway and runs through the grass.
And that's what I'm saying. It was wee silly things like that. It would do that. But you look at things like Minnie the Moocher.
Yeah.
When it was doing the Minnie the Moocher. That is an old song. Even then, it was an old song. Calloway, he'd been doing that for years and years. So it was one of his signature ones. And they're still singing it. And it's in the background, even when you see the Blues Brothers doing bits and pieces. But it doesn't slow it down. Because, yes, that Minnie the Moocher could go on for a bit. They introduced parts of the story as well as that being in, and then they finished it off to round it off, just to waiting for them coming in, which, and I think that's what it was good, because they had songs in which had really nothing to do with it, but they worked.
Especially the sorry, Roman, I'll let you go first.
Go.
Yeah, especially when they went to the first gig.
Oh,
And they played the song
Cowboy
"Give Me Some
Boy.
Lovin'," and it didn't work out. And
The good old boys.
Yeah. Do you know the thing from Rawhide? Yeah.
That's my favorite scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got both kinds of music there, both country and western.
And they racked up their bill. Well, ma'am, you brought us the first drink and it was on the house, so we thought the rest were, oh no. And so their bill was higher than their
$200 to get paid, and they owed them $350 for the drinks.
Oh, it was just so good. Rawhide.
Normally,
it is $350 back in 1982. That's a fortune.
I usually sign the American Express traveler's check on the glove box with a pencil.
Yes, he keeps those in the glove box, so we have to go out to the car to sign the check.
Normally I'm sitting there as well signing it. Start the car,
right back.
Especially when they first walk in and they notice the chicken wire.
What's the chicken wire for?
Yeah.
And then they realize.
But that was the thing that was, even where I grew up, chicken wire was actually quite common. I can't say that the metalheads, that was the crowd I fell in with, were known to kind of throw things at bad bands or anything. We just booed them off the stage. But I do recall seeing in other venues, when there wasn't a metal venue to go to, that your average cover band, if they were bad, people literally hurling whatever they had at the stage. So they needed the chicken wire.
It's like
I only ever saw that in the TV, the chicken wire. Never saw it once anywhere. Mind you, I didn't go to a lot of concerts, but any ones I'd ever been to, even when my dad used to sing in the pubs, it was never something I'd ever seen. I'd seen it on the TV. On things
back
like
when I was doing music, never a chicken wire gig.
Yeah,
I think that probably would have been off-putting.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
You guys might have been slightly better than the average, because when they were bad, they were really, really bad.
The diner scene is also just a brilliant scene in this movie.
Yeah.
They sit down. I want 4 fried chickens.
Chicken leg, chicken breast, 4 fried chickens. It was even the
4 pieces of fried chicken.
Bread.
No,
Do
ma'am.
you have any plain white bread? Yes, just slightly toasted. Do you want that? No, just plain white bread. And it's the part when they go into the
when she goes in the back.
It's when they go into the music shop and they're all looking at drums and all that, and he sees this paper, he picks it up, he goes into his pocket and brings out a bit of bread. It was just something they seemed to carry on, and it was so well done. That very first time you see him making dinner when you do the flat, it's just something you didn't really notice initially the first time you see it. But you don't notice it.
I was going to say, Roman, you forgot one thing: 4 fried chickens and a.
Oh, and a Coke.
And a Coke,
2 white boys just came in, ordered 4 fried chickens, some toast, and a Coke. Wait a minute.
They reused it a little bit more crudely, and this is Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson, 1995, The Cowboy Way.
Yeah.
the first time they arrive in New York, they go to really fancy, like 5-star Marriott hotel, 3-star Michelin restaurants, and just sit down. And they can't read the menu because obviously it's like French fancy posh nonsense. So Woody Harrelson, I believe it is just turning around to the waiter or maitre d' or whatever they call when it's more fancy, and just go, knock off the horn, wipe the ass, put it on the grill, and we'll have it. But it is in the similar vein.
Yes.
They just they know what they want.
Do you guys have a favorite musical number from this? Because there were many.
Oh, mine is the Franklin's.
Ray Charles one is probably one of my favourites. But
Take your tail feather.
yeah, you look at them all. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. It's just every one of them were iconic ones, especially Aretha Franklin's Think.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
It's just so well done. I mean, I've actually done a few clips of this movie for my channel. It's actually upcoming at the end of October. They'll be there, and it's just one of those things. I'm not a big one into music, but because obviously my dad used to do a lot of country and western old stuff, and my mum as well, she would listen to Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles. Basically, I grew up listening to them, and they were great. That's why when Minnie the Moocher are sitting there thinking, that's an old one. My mum used to listen to that, and even then, I hadn't heard it for years in the house because she would. My mum was used to listen to Aretha Franklin, Ella Fitzgerald, and stuff like that, and I grew up with that. Plus, my dad listened to Boxcar Willie, a lot of really good old classic stuff. So listen to this and listen to all the music. I'm sitting there thinking, I got some big bloody names in there. Yeah. They probably, a lot of them were, I wouldn't have said at the height of their careers. They had been at their height, and this is when they were getting older. So they were well known, but they were not something you would hear every day in the charts or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
Well, and it also introduced a lot of new people to this music.
Yeah.
I mean, in 1980, you're right. A lot of these stars were definitely in their twilight. And so a whole different group of people got exposed to this music that never would have otherwise. And it's funny because this is all based on a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yep.
That's where it all started with these two.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became this, and they actually put out several, I think maybe 3 or 4 albums as the Blues Brothers. Not just the Blues Brothers soundtrack, but other
Briefcase Full of Blues.
Briefcase Full of Blues, yes. I had them when I was a young man. I don't possess them anymore, which is unfortunate. But
just look at it. They've only done live albums and complication albums. The live albums: Briefcase Full of Blues, Made in America, and
Made in America. Yes.
Blues Brothers and Friends live from Chicago's House of Blues. So, I think the live albums are a lot better. Because you get the audience reaction.
Well, it was especially with these two and that backing band, which was, I mean, that they did the backing music for them, I think, on all of that stuff as well.
The thing is, I didn't realize until the end of it that they all used their own names.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it because it's like you watch a movie and it's characters. Obviously, you get Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi.
Right, they were the only characters in the movie.
They were the only characters in the movie. The rest of them were all actually playing themselves.
Although
themselves.
Carrie Fisher, of course, man, she was so funny in this because they were definitely under the protection of the Almighty because she should have killed them. I think 3 or 4 different times.
And do you know the thing is? Do you know the only thing I was disappointed with was at the end. They told you why. I would have liked to.
No, they blew it.
I would have liked not knowing. And it was basically, you're just at the end of it, you'd be sitting there thinking, why did she want to kill them? They told you, and at the end, it's not finished. because obviously he lied his way out of it. But to me, it should have been one of those ones that
Right.
never found out she was just constantly trying to kill. It's like Twiggy.
Yeah.
Twiggy was there. Jake chatted her up.
No, it was Elwood who showed up. Yeah.
Sorry, Elwood chatted her
Yeah.
up and said, "I will see you at the motel, and I'll be fine." And then she's standing there. And that's it. It's basically they're on the run.
Yeah.
It goes nowhere. But I think the Carrie Fisher one would have been funnier if it gone nowhere.
I
didn't know why she was trying to kill them.
I think
there's things like when she's sitting there with a bomb, and the cops kick in the door as she presses the button, and you see the door getting kicked in, and then
that was my favorite one. Because they just climb out of the bricks, dust themselves off, and carry on like nothing happened.
I loved it when they were parking their car. They drive bits where they cannot turn around into this bit where it's basically just got all the workings for the electricity company at one side, and they park in and climb out the window.
Especially when it's to the song, the Peter Gunn theme.
Yeah.
You know, dun 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 dun.
Yeah, it's just so well done. There was all the wee bits in it. Even that bit I started it with the Blues Brothers. Introduction of the Blues Brothers. And then there's that big long pause. And then
awkward pause.
And it's basically that. It's the fact is they're jumping around as if to go, "We're here." Nobody's paying attention, and then they start where they hit it, and it's a dun 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 dun, and it's so well. I think the whole movie's just so well put together.
I love
excellent timing.
Elwood's apartment was his closet, and the train comes by. It just you don't even notice it after a while.
Bits of the furniture going down behind the other bits of furniture and stuff like that. It's even just the fact is he opens the door and there's the bed in the kitchen.
And then the way I see it, it's like they did put Chicago back on the map with this film.
Yeah.
Oh, with the amount of Chicago police.
Yeah, but the amount of the how can I put it, downtown Chicago where they're trying to get to the place, the county cook office, and you've got all the buildings around, and you've got all like soldiers, firemen, police officers.
Oh God, the amount of extras they had in this, the cops, the soldiers, the firemen.
They called out the National Guard. Helicopters flown in.
Yeah. The amount of extras, even just people standing around when the cars were zooming by. The amount of stuntmen hanging around when these cars were thinking they were getting missed by literally that much. They were so well done. The stunts, you could just imagine that somebody just managed to jump out of the way. Yeah. But how much prep they went into just to make it look that dangerous.
Especially
it's just so well done.
Especially when they made it inside and they're throwing everything against the doors, trying to stop.
Oh yes.
Wasted time.
And they do it, and they get to, and then they get down halfway down the hallway, and they go, "Yeah, excuse me, where's the county cook office? Oh, it's down there to the. Okay, thanks. Boom. Get to the.
They get there, and it's back in 5 minutes, and they do stand. You think they would automatically get in, but they don't. They just stand there.
And stand there going like.
I used to be able to do that. The worst part is I can't now. I used to be able to do that. Click. And I used to do that quite a lot. And I think it was because of that movie I learned how to do it. Can't click now with this hand, but in effect it was click, click, slap. And so it made it click all the time.
Even and who opens the door just fresh off, I think, of Close Encounters?
Yep, Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. Can I help you?
With sandwich in the mouth. But that's what I'm saying. There was just so many. Even the good old boys. The guy who was
Charles Napier.
Yeah. I mean, even just the fact that apart from that one, but I thought Elwood was going to do the old one and says, wait there, and go and talk to the guy, and then turn around and says, these guys here, these are my friends, they're going to pay for it. And they wave, and he would wave, and they would nod. I thought that's what they were going to do. But in effect, he says, just wait there, goes to them, and effectively they drive away, and there's no completion. So it gets you to the point where you think they're going to take the piss out of the two of them, make him think he's paying and make him think he's getting paid, and the two of them have nodded, like you see in a lot of these type of movies.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. They got you to the point, then the two of them just bugged off, and the two of them looked at each other to say, huh? And it was just so well done because he expects things, and then it just does not pay off. It dies, and you think, but other ones you wish died, they give you the solution to it, and you think, oh, it could have worked. But even the fact is, all those cops around, and there's a good old boy standing there with pick handles.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking, how's that going to work? But it's still funny just seeing them all there.
Oh, yeah, the convergence at the end with the cops, the Nazis, Bob's good old boy band.
Especially
Who else was there?
John Candy was there as the parole officer.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, aye. John Candy was great. I was the one that kicked in the door, remember, with the two cops? And the two cops, I'm going to get him. It's the last thing I do, I'm going to get him.
Let's have some orange whip. Orange whip. Orange whip. Orange whip. 3 orange whips.
You think about it, all the people, right? Some of them weren't big names at the time, but they certainly became big names.
I was going to mention. What about the scene with the Winnebago? Just he puts his foot down and he can't get his foot.
He can't get it back up because he's put the super glue when during the minute of the moocher, he sprayed it all on.
I know.
I thought he'd actually did that to the brake, but I didn't realise he did it to the gas.
The Winnebago goes straight into the lake, and there's Charles Napier standing there. Everyone's coming out of the water, and he goes, "Don't you say a effing word."
They definitely knew how to play the movie well.
I know.
So,
Yep.
the good thing
often
about
these things. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go.
No. You go ahead. Don't worry about me.
Oh, I was going to say, because often this kind of thing doesn't work well when they take the skit and try to transfer it to the big screen. Sometimes it's gold, but often it is not. And there were so many elements in this movie. It wasn't just them getting up and doing a bit. I mean, this was a massive scale film. It's like Ben-Hur, except as a bluesy musical comedy.
It was the amount of people in it. And as you said, the music. Like that one there.
Yep.
It's just superb. So
You better think about what you're saying. You better think about the consequences of your actions.
Oh, shut up, woman.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Yeah, think that you might want to let yourself be free. Let's go back, let's go away on the back lane. I didn't even know you came to me and you were good. I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with free. You don't think too much hard to see what you're doing to me. You better think about what you're trying to do to me. I'll think that you might want to let yourself be free. Oh, freedom, 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 oh, freedom. Hey, think about it. Keep doing things I don't. Hey, think about what you're trying to do to me. Baby, think that your mind will let yourself be free. People walking around every day playing games, big scores. I name other people losing my way. I don't care what you don't do. Yeah, think about what you're trying to do to me. Yeah. But your mind won't let yourself be free. You need me, and I need you. Without each other, ain't nothing we can do. Yeah. Think about it, to the bottom.
There you go.
Oh, freedom, freedom, you good as I can answer you now. But I was gonna change, I'm not if you keep doing things I don't. Hey, think about what you're trying to do to me. Think that you might gonna let you be free. You need me, and I Without each other, ain't nothing we can do. Yeah! Think about it, baby. To the bottom now. Think about it, baby. It's a deep one.
It's
the
just
pipes
such
on that
an
woman.
amazing
Yeah.
scene there.
You're
So
right,
good.
like you said, the pitch, how
Yeah.
powerful she is, and it's just the fact is, even the part when she's acting, just leading up to all that, you can imagine
Yes.
her being the running the calf. You could just imagine that, and then the pipes come out.
Yeah, but I've got to say is that they're just sitting here, and it feels like there's so many backstories to the band.
Mhm.
So you're not just focused on the Blues Brothers all the time. You had all these different type of songs had stories of their own.
But you even look at that bit, right?
Yeah.
You've got what was she, a meter maid? The other girl sitting there, the other three of them sitting there.
Yeah, it was
Well,
an
you can
office
imagine-
worker, a salon girl, and a
Yeah.
postal worker, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got the three of them sitting there, and then as they're dancing up and down, you've got people playing chess or checkers, and they're not even paying attention to what's happening.
Right.
It's surreal, but it actually works because of the genre this is in. Because you can't actually say this genre is this. This is a musical. Well, it's not. This is a comedy. Well, it's not just a comedy. It
Right.
basically fits into all the different genres. It's the only genre I would say, and is weird as hell because all the bits and pieces together. It's an action. It's not fully action. It's a cop. It's not fully. It's a musical. It's not, and it fits into all the genre. It just, I love it.
Yeah. I
quite agree. The second one is rubbish in comparison.
Well, I've got to say, I've got to bring up the guitarist and the bass guitarist, Donald Duck Dunn and Steve Cropper. They were actually part of Booker T and the MGs and Otis Redding, and plus also Rod Stewart before they came into this film. And they thought they were going all Hollywood, but it was something totally different.
Well, you look at the only reason they got to film in downtown Chicago, was they actually had to, what was it, 50 grand to charities after the film was already done. And you imagine that nowadays they'd be going, what, to charity?
Yeah.
Nah. Whereas then they could actually say, well, if we give 50 grand to charity, can we film down there? They were said yes, but now charity, give me the 50 grand.
Exactly.
Just even then, it was a case of, well, if it gets 50 grand into the city, fine. Nowadays, if you get 50 grand into me, it's just the idea of that's how what they did to get the film. Whereas nowadays, you can just imagine the corruption would be.
I know.
Bugger the charities, give us the money.
Well, I was going to say, look at the director who directed this film, John Landis. Went from Kentucky Fried Movie.
I love the Kentucky Fried Movie.
It's
Blues Brothers.
Girls in Trouble.
Yes, American Werewolf in London. He did next after this film. Trading Places, Twilight Zone the movie, Spies Like Us, Into the Night, Clue, Three Amigos.
Spies Like Us as well. It's just another one of those.
He also did Coming to America, Beverly Hills Cop 3, the second Blues Brothers film, and his last one he directed was Burke and Hare.
I've got Burke and Hare. Is it the comedy version with Simon Pegg? The Burke and Hare one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that one. That's actually not too bad. It takes the Burke and Hare story in a completely different. I mean, it in effect it changes history. Surprise, surprise. But it's still a good comedy-ish, morbid comedy, black comedy. It's got Bill Bailey in it as well. The Birkin hair. So yeah, I mean, Michael Landis does. You can see the quality of the stuff you listed there. Yeah, I mean, but you look at another thing is Dan Aykroyd, right?
Yeah.
How many times have we seen Dan Aykroyd in a movie? Funny, doing whatever. But never mind the pints on him. You look at the dance moves he's got. When was the last time you saw a movie with Dan Aykroyd doing something like that? Spies Like Us, to an extent, you saw...
Yeah, his serious side.
Yeah.
You saw more of the serious side, but...
Trading Places?
Out there.
Yeah, what about Trading Places? What about that? Playing an upper class snob.
He played the upper class snob who was down and up doing the sound.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. But you don't really see that side of him playing the crazy, apart from on the train in Trading Places.
Yeah. When
they were him and Eddie Murphy were doing the two brothers or the two countrymen, and he was doing the stupid stuff. But you didn't see a lot of him doing zany stuff like that, just jumping around. You obviously saw earlier on, it's like watching Jim Carrey stuff early on with Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. You would see how crazy he would do, and then you would see what he would do on a movie, and you could see callbacks to what he used to do. Whereas that is the first time I've seen, as you said, it's from a Saturday Night Live sketch, and then you see how movie.
The original Saturday Night Live sketch, they were dressed up as bees.
Yeah.
Also true.
You remember the one I was saying about Hale & Pace?
Yes. Yeah.
They originally, when they first did the management, they thought people would take it too seriously. So they only did it in shirts and jackets with bow ties. They didn't wear trousers because they didn't want people to take it seriously, until they realised that the material was funny enough that people didn't take it seriously, so they didn't need to dress in a way to make it humorous. And as you said, they did it as a bee costume, but the Bees Brothers, or were they meant to be the Bee Gees?
They were the bee's knees.
The bee's knees.
Oh, God, it's getting worse the longer it goes.
But it's just the fact is, I kind of the problem is one negative thing I've said about it, and it's only because of the scene, and the scene itself is funny, but it showed Jake in a bad light, not Elwood, Jake in a bad light, because what he would do just to get what he wanted. If they had done it a different way of being silly, and then just saying, we're going to turn up here unless you agree. But he quit his job and everything because of it. So in effect, the guy had a good job. As he said, what was it? Was it 4 figures per week? So he was earning a lot of cash. Yet they basically quite happy to ruin his life just so they could actually get that. If he's
so they can get $5,000 for the penguin.
But could they have just actually borrowed it off him? If he's getting that much in tips and whatever, could they not have just borrowed the money off of him?
That's true.
Yeah. But
she didn't want their filthy money.
Yes, but she was happy to take their filthy money just as long as they didn't commit a crime to get it.
Yes.
Right.
The job, as long as it was legal because it was paid for, but all the criminal things they did round it was irrelevant, which was silly.
Especially when they're trying to make their escape, and next thing you hear, "Oh, great, the mob's after us," and all. And it wasn't. It was a record producer, and he just hands a cash over to him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
10 grand or something?
10 grand. They took $5,000 and says, "Would you pay 1,465 to Ray and the rest to the band?" So the band got their money, but they still had to actually go back and actually sign it and record.
The thing is, I'm gonna say, as long as they don't do a prequel to this movie, because we don't know the actual story, how he got to prison in the first place. All we know, he held up a gas station, which is supposed to be true, or was it something else?
The thing is, I'm loath to say nobody would be stupid enough to do that.
Yeah.
But we have seen a lot of more stupid things out there, so yeah, I can't say people wouldn't be stupid enough to do a prequel to this. But if they were doing a prequel to this, they wouldn't do a prequel about why he ended up in jail, because they would say that as unimportant. They would do a prequel as how he got the car.
Yeah.
Right.
How the car's life story up until the point where that's what the nutcases out there think it's important. Because you look at Solo Lost Money.
Thank God.
How did you get your name? I don't know. If you get any pals? No, well, we'll just call you Han Solo.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, really? That's really good. Nothing to do with my parents. No, just somebody decided that my name was Hans and they'll just call me Solo because I was on my Todd. Oh, that gun here, it's really important. Here, you take this gun. Oh, that's me, got it. Thank you very much. And you're sitting there thinking, we didn't care. So the fact that you think it's important to actually put them there, they're unimportant. Now you've made them less important than they originally were. They were just part and parcel of Han Solo. Now they're unimportant to Hans, who we don't know his surname now.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea. You can just imagine a nutcase running and going, do you know what would be a good prequel to this? How they got the car. So
The car could give its own monologue.
And all the cops driving it and the damage it done and how it got every single dent and how it got put up for sale and how he bought it. And that would be the prequel of that movie right up until he drives up and he picks up.
How the police car was being driven around Chicago with two evil police officers, and now it can go on a redemption arc to not be an evil police car.
Oh, no, you're hurting my brain. Stop.
And the problem is you want us to stop is because you know there's somebody sitting there going,
I know. Man, that's a great idea.
Get JJ on the phone.
The true story.
Yeah, we called it. So, what was going to... Sorry, Roman. Oh.
Well, no, I was going to say, the thing is, I just read up, apparently they weren't actually brothers in this film. They were blood brothers, because they're orphans.
Yep. Brother.
But see, the thing is, I think they knew that. Because they just called themselves Blues.
Yeah.
So they did. Because we obviously knew that, because obviously... Cab Calloway's character is basically the old janitor. And he brought them up.
I just want to bring up a little funny story about John Belushi in the making of this film. One night when they were about to do the police chase, he ended up disappearing and ended up going to someone's house. And he just walked into someone's house after knocking on their door. And the entire film crew were looking for him, and then they end up finding him passed out on someone's couch after he raided the fridge. That is John Belushi for you.
Well, that was John Belushi back in the day. He must have been very hard to actually work with. I mean, he was funny and talented.
If I had woke up and he was sitting there, I don't care who he was, first thing I would do is phone the police. I don't think, and see, the problem is, the more that I find out about things like that, I don't find them humorous anecdotes. I just think is what difference between John Belushi and some other Hollywood weirdo that thinks they can do anything they want because they've got talent. And yes, he's a very talented man, same as some of these weirdos are very talented at certain things. I just don't like stories like that because it just gives that impression that he thinks he can do what he wants, and I don't like stories like that. So stop telling me.
I think you're implying that he actually knew what he was doing at that point, PJ.
No, I don't think that
may have necessarily been the case.
No, I've known, but the fact is, he probably did do it multiple times, and somebody covered it up because he's talent. Because if he was untalented hack, you think he would have actually been able to do it more than once?
Yeah, good point.
Well, we
Good
don't-
point.
we
We
don't
lost
know.
John again. We lost
Yeah.
John again.
But he was like on drugs, and he was going through his bad period at that time.
Because what year did he die?
In 1982.
A couple
It was
of years
before Ghostbusters and soon after this.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
because
he was
he was
height of his career
Yeah.
when he ends.
Stepped off the edge.
And apparently, John Belushi wasn't into blues music to begin with. It was Dan Aykroyd who introduced him to it.
Right. Yeah, that's where we get the House of Blues franchise across the world.
Yeah.
That's what it was a big passion of his.
Do you know what one of my a scene I loved? It was the back to the Minnie the Moocher, but it was almost the Tom and Jerry when they're trying to sneak by all the cops.
Yep.
And the music's going, and they're
Yeah.
And they're basically the movement, they're very sneaky.
Yeah.
And tune it. I just thought that was very Tom and Jerry-ish.
Did you notice the police?
Past it, and there's the cops standing there smoking. And
Did you notice the police officer standing there was asleep?
Was he sleeping? I thought he was actually standing smoking.
No, he was leaning against a pillar asleep.
But it was just the fact that the way they were, and it was just very over the top, tiptoey, and they were doing it to the music, and I thought was hilariously funny. I just loved that whole scene. So that the minute
it was an homage to the orchestrated comedy of like cartoons, where it was just an orchestra normally playing. Tom and Jerry did that all the time. Yeah, they didn't have footsteps. There was no Foley. It was an orchestra.
Yeah, and basically anytime you hear it would be the piano if there's running. But yeah, I just thought it was just so much fun the way they introduced that part into it, and then they tiptoeing in tune to the music. I just thought it was absolutely hilarious.
I want to go back to the scene of the police chase where
what one?
They're going heading for Shark Cargo, and the scene just slowly fades out, and then it fades back in. It's dawn. They're asleep, and the car's driving. It looks like the car's driving by itself. They're just there in the car asleep. And
I thought it was Jake. It was asleep, but Elwood was driving, and he basically turned around and he take a detour.
Yeah.
Yep. I thought he'd been driving the whole night, and then Jake just...
they were both asleep.
That car's amazing.
Oh, yes.
I can't get over, how tall is Aretha Franklin? If he's 5'6", right?
Yeah.
The guitar player is her husband is 5'6".
Matt Guitar Murphy was only 5'6"?
Yeah, he was a short guy. He wasn't that tall. So how tall is she?
Like 3 foot?
4'9", 5 foot?
Well, let's see. Aretha Franklin, there she's there.
That's hilarious. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm just
they actually had him on an apple box in a couple of shots. Who was saying that? I think it was John or something was saying that. I don't remember. But yeah, not a big guy. I mean, a big guy, but not a big guy.
Yeah, because he was thick.
Yep.
She was 5'5".
Yeah. Okay.
5'5".
So
She was.
Oh, she's taller. She's taller than Mrs. of the Empire. Mrs. of the Empire is not a tall woman, though. But nor does she make me 4 fried chickens, toast, and bring me a Coke. So I don't have anything going on, really.
Well, I'm
going to ask for that for lunch today.
For 4 fried chickens. Mrs. maybe would make me 4 fried chickens. She'd make me eat them over 4 or 5 days. She wouldn't let me eat them all at once. I know my limits. Honest God.
And some dry white toast, please.
Yes.
No butter?
Anything to drink? No. Dry, please. A Coke.
Oh, and there's another one that we forgot to mention. James Brown.
Yes. Yeah.
My favorite musical number is in that church.
The fact is, all the congregation, they weren't just dancing, they were doing flips.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm sitting there thinking, I might go to that church. I don't know anything, but I would go to that church just for the simple fact is the fact is, then when they finished, they just all go, thank you very much, and then just walk away, and you're sitting there going, what's happening? But they're all just doing the flips and everything. You're sitting there thinking, what's happening? And then it stops. And then basically, he sends them out, and they are all going, thank you very much. You know, in a way, it's the same as every scene, as you said, every musical.
Yeah, just get it done.
It just like the bit where she was singing. What was it? No, it was Charles doing the twist, and then everybody outside doing the twist, even the kids.
Yes,
and it's just
that was a big musical number.
Oh yeah,
there were a lot of people involved. In
oh
that,
god, yes. Kids, as I'm saying, kids. There were just loads of them. There must have been I must have said about 50, 60 people involved in that at least. But
I mean, just the coordination of that is very impressive for choreography.
Oh god,
I don't know. Were they nominated for editing? Because there was certainly some chief level editing in this film.
Oh yeah.
This police car spinning, getting around and stuff like that.
I broke my watch.
Upside down, spinning around. Yes, he's bothered about his watch. But even the silly bits with the editing, you see how it is. You see the cop car stop him, and he sees cars coming towards him, and he flips back, and then suddenly the other angle, everything crashes in and rips the car to pieces. But it's obviously so he's flipped in so they can actually everybody out of the cars so they can actually crush them all, and then they put them back in and they climbs at the door. It's even the editing there. It was it was cheap editing because you see the guy sort of pull something, a lever, and he goes straight back. It's not like a car where you go click click, push back to try and get the thing to go back. It's so obvious, but it's a movie. We know it's obvious. We understand why they're doing it, but it's still, as you said, the car.
Especially with that police car that ended up in the truck.
Oh God, I know. This is car.
One take.
Are we? 55. This is car 55. We're in a truck. It's
brilliant.
I don't know. Apart from that one wee teeny criticism of one scene, I think this is one of those movies that there's a lot of silly faults in it, but they're not faults of the movie. They're faults that deliberately done. That they say, oh, by the way, this is a movie. Does it matter if it's real? And that's the thing. So the things that you see, that if it was a movie trying to be serious, you would think, oh, that takes you out. But it's not. It doesn't take itself seriously. Like, for instance, all the people dancing in the streets and the bar and people playing.
Nope, and you don't get pulled out. You're right. You never get pulled out of that experience of the Blues Brothers.
And that's what I'm saying. So if you see somebody doing something like, for instance, police back when he's in a car so they can actually demolish it, you don't think, oh, that's not realistic. You just think, I can understand that. But they just go ahead and do it. And they don't, there's no, like, for instance, the explosion in the building, everything gets blown up, and then they open the door and the brickwork falls away and none of them's hurt. You don't need to actually see people actually legs hanging out of under a pile of bricks and obviously somebody's dead. It was funny and it was played for fun.
It's like nobody got killed in the entire movie.
Yeah, and it was just played for fun. And I think that's what I'm saying. The faults in it were part of it because they didn't want you to take it seriously. They didn't want you to think, oh, wait a minute, a guy was in that car when it crashed and turned over. Well, you obviously know the guy. You saw the guy go. So you know that car's empty by the time they actually do the stunt. That was only just to the wind-up of it.
And I'm just going to say about back in 2020, about 2 years ago, this ended up in the Library of Congress.
I heard about that. They were actually out because it's the top 100 per decade, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think they've got an original theatrical release print. Now, if we could just get George Lucas to give them Star Wars.
Yeah.
What, you mean the one with the old fat guy is Jabba the Hutt?
The Smithsonian and the American Archives still don't have a copy of that movie. George Lucas doesn't even own one anymore.
That's not surprising.
See, if special edition is not. They've got it, and this is the one they've got, then you would say that's not the original. Get it to Buggery.
Yep. So you're going to get me all depressed here, Stephen. We were happy. We were talking about the Blues Brothers, and now you're talking about Star Wars. You're bringing me down, man.
I'm sorry. I'm going to bring it right back right now. The Blues Brothers get to Elwood's place, right? And then they get shot by like a couple of Law's rockets. They brush that off, get all the way upstairs, and then out of nowhere, some guy in the background goes, "You bring me my cheese whiz, boy." And he did. He got the cheese whiz. When he got the cheese whiz, I don't know, but it survived the whole morning. And
in his back pocket.
In his back pocket, no less.
And the next morning, they're still playing cards.
Yeah, same guys.
Yeah.
Then the building blows up.
But that's what I'm saying. And all those silly things, and it doesn't take you out the movie.
Little bits.
It's a great shame they didn't, after the building blew up, they didn't have in the background shot them still playing cards.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
The same
so
guys.
Many bits and pieces you think in this movie, if they took all those wee bits and pieces out, could save about 10 minutes of it, but it would change none of the story.
That's right.
But they're only in there just for a wee,
right.
I think it wasn't a hilarious wee skit they kept in just so you can have a big laugh out loud. It's just a wee smile, like as you said, the cheese whiz, and he goes into his back pocket and pulls out, and you're sitting there thinking, where the fuck?
Yeah, where did that? The cheese whiz predates the movie. It's part of the prequel.
But even
the Adventures of Cheese Whiz.
Yeah. And even the bit where they're sitting waiting for petrol, there's no petrol.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're waiting for it. And then they sit down and wait for the petrol and then start chatting up Twiggy. That whole bit is only just to show they were delayed. But the Twiggy bit and the petrol being late and all that meant nothing.
Yep.
But they
I love that he gets Twiggy to come to the hotel. That's my one of my favorite parts in the whole film.
Yeah. And he didn't turn up. Twiggy got stood up.
He was cute enough. I'll meet him. Sure, why not? Okay.
Twiggy, she was known as the girl with two backs at one point.
I got to admit, Carrie Fisher, I was going to mention this. Carrie Fisher firing those weapons.
Mm-hmm.
She must have specialised training coming off the set of Star Wars.
Yeah, well, she still blinks when she pulls the trigger, if you notice.
Yeah. But she was apparently she was dating Dan Aykroyd around about that time. That's how she got in the movie.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, because she was an oddball kind of casting choice.
Yeah.
If you look at it from an outside perspective, Carrie Fisher coming out of Star Wars to be in the Blues Brothers is a peculiar casting choice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if she's dating Dan Aykroyd, then it becomes less peculiar.
Yeah, but
she was a party girl behind the scenes. Yeah, for sure.
That seems peculiar on its own.
I've never heard that before.
What?
I've been
she's a party girl?
That's news to me.
Good grief. Those skinny little legs, those chicken legs, I love them to pieces.
But when I first saw her in it, I'm sitting there thinking, this is not a big budget movie. You don't think about the amount of stunt people in it, the amount of extras in it, the amount of cars that get demolished, the amount of property that gets demolished. You don't think about that because you look at it, how it looks, and it looks a cheap movie.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how much they actually spent on
I don't know either, but it must have cost a lot. You're right, all the property and that giant freaking cast.
You want to know the budget? $27.5 million.
In $1980.
Yeah.
$1980. Jeez. But that's what I'm saying. All those people in it and all that, it looks like a cheap movie. You can't deny it. If you put the early Evil Dead up against this, the two of them would look as if they were made by the same crew. But it obviously wasn't, because you look at the stars in it. As I said, you've got Carrie Fisher, as you said, you've got John Candy, you've got Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, you've got Twiggy, you've got
Frank
Charles, Aretha Franklin. Yeah, I mean, all these big names. So yes, some of them might have been coming in as doing favors for her, but it's big names.
Well, just to give you a little bit of a parallel, Ghostbusters just a few years later was $30 million for the budget. So this was an expensive film.
Aye.
This was an expensive film to make. This was not a cheap thing. If the cheapness was done on purpose to give it that cartoonish quality, I think.
Yeah, and it's the amount of cars they could do. If you imagine if they did that to make it look a bit more Popeye Doyle gritty type, the amount of stunts wouldn't have been there. The amount of extras wouldn't have been in it, so they wouldn't have been able to throw all of those cops to chase them up that corridor. Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have had the army driving in. These things would not have happened. But in the film, they're ridiculously funny. You're just sitting there watching it, and there's the cops all come in, and suddenly jeeps and tanks come up the road. You're sitting there thinking, "What the heck's happening?" And
just a bit of art house speculation. What is the possibility that this is one of the first nostalgia geeks movies that we started to get? Because as time moved on, we started to get these retrospectives on where we had all come from. And the Blues Brothers is literally saying to the disco age, hey guys, there's some great soul music you may have missed that you forgot about from like 1965 or so.
Yeah.
And they basically resurrected the soul and R&B industry.
That's true. Never thought about that because of the time it was made. Yeah, I was 15.
I was just thinking how fat Dan Aykroyd got from here to Ghostbusters.
Right.
He was so skinny in this. He was like a rail in this. And by Ghostbusters, and to call the brother fat maybe isn't, but he had plumped up considerably.
Yeah, he had thickened up. He had gone a little bit on the Orson Welles side.
I also think it was also the outfits. You think about it, in Ghostbusters, they had the coveralls, big bag of coveralls. Whereas in this, it was literally drain pipe trousers. And it just made them look tall and skinny. Especially John Belushi. The two of them, it was basically it's like Little and Large, which is an American a British duo, but I imagine Laurel and Hardy, Little and Large was the same idea. Tall, skinny one, short, fat one.
That's a really good contrast.
Yeah. But in effect, it was the same idea because Dan Aykroyd looked taller because he's wearing skinnier type clothes and he's standing next to John Belushi, who is a rotund.
Not skinny.
Obviously. Yeah. He's in shape. Round as a shape.
Round as a shape.
Round as a shape.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's one of those movies. Kelly, I would definitely say watch it if you've not seen it. Get watching it. It is fun. It's a fun movie. Great music in it.
Was this one of John Belushi's last films?
I think it was.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
What
it was one of.
I mean,
John Belushi's last film was called Neighbours.
He played
Dan Aykroyd.
1980. Yeah. That was 1981. So he played this, and then he played in Continental Divide, and then Neighbours.
Okay, Continental Divide was not great. I actually remembered that movie, which is a little bit weird, but and I don't remember Neighbors though. So okay, so he had two others.
He was trying to change gears.
Blues Brothers, and then dead.
He was trying to get out from underneath his silly persona, But
1941 was a great movie,
and the thing is, he never shared a scene with Dan Aykroyd in that.
Yeah, it's true.
The whole entire movie, he didn't share a scene with Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, and Neighbours was John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd again.
Yeah.
And John Belushi looked as if he'd actually trimmed up a bit for it.
Yes.
Wait, more?
There it's there. That's just hold on. That's just a wee clip. It's on the IMDb.
Clickety click.
That's Neighbours there. So you can see.
Oh my God! Yeah, they aged him for it, didn't they?
Uh-huh. Because you look at the clips there, it definitely doesn't look as big. Yeah, I mean, compared to what he played in that. Do you know what I mean? So, based on how you looked between the Blues Brothers and Neighbours, that's only a year apart. And he'd gone down a bit. And then Dan Aykroyd is blonde in the Neighbours. And he looks.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I may need to seek that out again because I don't remember Neighbors. I have literally no memory of that existing.
Yeah, there's some pretty hard production stories behind that movie. He was definitely being run through the ringer, John Belushi.
Yeah.
He was having a lot of production issues on that one.
Dan Aykroyd, and he's blonde.
Goodness gracious.
Based on who's in it, it looks a lot better than somebody's whoever's seen it and actually says it was rubbish. For the simple fact is, you've got Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Catherine Walker. Yeah, I mean, some really nice names in that one, but I would need to check it out.
Was Raging Bull before or after that?
I don't know. I think Raging Bull was before it, was it not?
So she was just off of Raging Bull, to do Neighbors.
She's in Neighbors. It might have been a contract thing though.
Raging Bull. I'm trying to see where Raging
1980.
Bull.
Yeah, and
I hate that
Neighbors.
movie so much.
She was
really.
I really don't like Raging Bull.
It's a boxing one. It's a sporty one. I can't remember. I didn't see it. Raging Bull. Are you sure she was on Raging Bull?
Oh, am I thinking of a different actress?
I think, yeah. You're thinking of the other one. Kathy Mortimer.
Moriarty?
Yeah, Kathy Moriarty. I'm thinking of. You're right.
I don't know who that is either, though.
Makes the best pizza in Los Angeles. Mulberry Street Pizza.
Raging Bull was her first movie, and Neighbours was the second one.
I mean, not all comedies are genius. So, I mean, Chevy Chase has made his share of.
Oh God, Chevy Chase is a bit of a
movies.
nutcase nowadays, but some of his comedies are absolutely fantastic.
Right, no, I agree. But just even in his waning years after, I don't know if he made anything that was actually worth watching after Christmas Vacation. I know he was in one of like TV sitcom stuff, the Community College Show, which I've never seen, so I can't comment on.
That was actually good. Community was actually not too bad, and he did play the old duffer in it, and it was actually a lot better. The initial seasons were a lot better, and it was fun. Some of the weird ones in Community were hilariously funny, where Dan Aykroyd's, Chevy Chase's character sort of gets annoyed and starts trying to ruin everything for everybody. He plays that type of character, so he does. The old white racist.
Is there any other kind?
It was a bit of a pain to actually work with, but it was actually quite a good show. I would recommend it initially, the initial ones. Later on, when they actually, most of the cast left and they got it onto a new network, it wasn't good. They changed too much.
Well,
but early stuff, definitely, and he was good in it. But yeah, he's same idea a lot. You look at a lot of stars, they've been famous for a couple of things, and then they sort of go off the rails, thinking I can actually do this, and then you realise it doesn't fit your genre. So, because you're known for a genre, and you go off, very few people can actually flip. Some can easily flip back. You look at Robin Williams.
Yes.
He could actually do madcap comedy. He could do deadly serious. Like that. He could literally just flip, and away he would go.
I mean, that was a very different era of I would say you don't really have that level of comedic actor who can do that turn anymore. I mean, but also you just don't have this level of comedy anymore either. Like a film like The Blues Brothers and really anything Robin Williams did. You get movies that come out now that are amusing, but or they're raunch comedies that you probably, you know, which are, it's a whole different category. But as far as just straight out funny movies, I don't know. I'm old now, so my view of the world is different. But
I like it when people say they're old when I'm sitting in the same stream. Sorry, I interrupt you again. Sorry.
Yeah.
When I was a lad, right, go. What were you saying? Sorry, I'm terrible for that.
I was going to say, shall we rate the movie? Or
Yes. So, what would you rate the movie? We've already done our favourite bits.
Yeah.
What would you rate it? Go on, Ali. You go first.
I give this a straight 10 out of 10. Because it's so iconic. It's a timeless classic. It's a cult. It's, you know, it's a cult movie now, and it's a movie that will never be like remastered, retouched up, or anything like that, or no CGI elements. It's just going to be left.
It needs to be left. It's not that it will be. You know, it won't be. Somebody will try and tidy it up.
They better not. They better not.
That's the thing. They'll try and tidy it up because somebody wants it in 4K. Somebody wants it this way. Somebody wants it widescreen. They'll touch it up and they wonder why nobody actually really cares. It is one of those ones. I think you're right. It needs to be seen as it was filmed. You don't want to tidy it up and make it look pristine because that will highlight some of the silliness out. It'll highlight it too much where it's perfectly where it is. It'd be like taking Laurel and Hardy and making it colour, which they have done, and I never like them in colour. I always watch them in black and white because
the thing is, I would like to see this on the big screen in its original format.
Oh yes, that would be fun. I must admit. The Blues Brothers re-released as it was. Just imagine all that music and surround sound all around you. Aretha Franklin shouting, think.
Well, it is a straight 10 out of 10 for me. That's what I can say.
Yeah. What about yourself, Robin?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Alex. And for me, it's just the way they were able to blend the comedic bits with the musical and have it work all so very well. And as we were talking about earlier, you don't get pulled out by any of the bits. It just all works, which is impressive given the level of, you know, complexity of this film. You know, it seems like a kind of a straightforward comedy piece, but it's really not. There are an awful lot of things going on in this movie, and it could have taken a turn left or right either way and just gone off the rails and been a disaster. Instead, it's just an absolute masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. Stephen,
I'm going to have to go agree with these gentlemen. I've been trying to think. Maybe it's an 8, maybe it's a 9 out of 10, but no, it's quite literally become a classic film in much the same way that something like Harvey is a classic film of its time period.
I've seen that for years.
It's almost infallible. Every audience that sees it absolutely adores it. They're not even asking the question of when was this movie made. It's just, thank God this movie was made. You know, it's just good on the face of it. So yeah, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It's a miracle they pulled it off.
Definitely. Jim has fallen asleep.
Jim.
The other thing. Well, since Jim's sleeping, it's either that or else he's sitting there half cut.
With his sunglasses on, sleeping like Leon, the professional.
So, well, I must admit, I know I did the 1 week criticism, but I would definitely give this a 10. The rewatch value on this alone is
tremendous,
superb. You could rewatch this over and over. You know exactly what's coming, but as you said, the music, the comedy, it all merits, but also the car chases, the amount of cars they total, the amount of stunts. You even look at the cheap-looking stunts and look how close those people are, the stunt people are, of jumping out the way of the cars. It's not done with trick photography where they've done it in such an angle that the person's got plenty of time to move out the way and for the car to speed by. The camera's at an angle you can literally see the person just getting missed with all the furniture flying and bits and pieces flying. And considering they're doing these stunts through things that are flying, things that are flying. So they had a shop. The shop window explodes, but all the merchandise explodes out. And they're still, the stunts look so close. You imagine a stunt person, something just goes across their face, they hesitate for a split second, bang. But they don't, and it just looks so, as I said, it looks cheap, but it looks dangerous as well, because I think it looks cheap. It looks a lot more dangerous than anything I've seen on some of the big budget Hollywood ones where they can put CGI. At least in this one, there wasn't a bounce. There wasn't a bouncing wheel just passing you, the person who's lying there, and it bounces that close to their face that it would actually damage them even if it never touched them, because for some reason CGI dinosaur feet actually just miss you by a fraction of a centimetre, yet you don't feel anything, as if it's nothing been there. Surprise, surprise. It's the same idea, whereas this, it just looked dangerous because it looks so cheap, but it's just so well done. It's actually highly entertaining, and it's something I would definitely rewatch, and something I would definitely recommend anybody watch. If you've not seen it, check it out.
Want to show the grandkids.
Oh, definitely. Do you hear that, boy? Tell me, man. First time he's there. Come on, I'll show you some. Right. You want to see still game first, or you want to see the Blues Brothers?
I want to play Fortnite.
I don't know what a Fortnite is.
That's his dad's. That's his dad's job. His dad plays computer games. I don't. Player 3 has entered the game. I did get him that as basically a onesie. It said Player 3 has entered the game, so for his dad, because his dad's a computer geek. So, but yeah, I would definitely be quite happy to sit there with my grandson. Let's watch the Blues Brothers. Right, I'm the fat one. You're the tall skinny one, right? But yeah, it is definitely one for the ages. Some movies, even I admit, I like old movies. Some of them don't age very well. Yeah. Like, I love Norman Wisdom. I love Abbott and Costello. But the age, they're still funny, but because of the type of humour it's changed on, the slapstick humour I don't find as funny. So I could watch a Laurel and Hardy out to my heart's content, because it doesn't age. It ages so well. It doesn't become of a time, whereas Abbott and Costello become of a time. We constantly get slapped. It's not as funny. Whereas this one, I think it's timeless. It's one of those ones. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's timeless.
Definitely.
It just sits there. You can see the clothes difference, the way they talk, the things that are happening. They're irrelevant because the story is timeless. The music is timeless.
Yeah. I would say the same about Mad World. I feel in the same category.
Yes. Oh, God, aye.
Yeah.
Right. We'll split it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, wait a minute. You count yourself twice. Oh, sorry, that was meaning for you. I remember Mad World.
Oh, my God. Comedy back then.
Yeah. That's the thing. You think about it, in the 70s, 80s, we've got a lot of classics that are timeless, because yes, you can see the time they were made, because everybody's smoking, or the type of cars they're driving, or the type of things they say. But nobody takes it's no done maliciously. The things they say to each other, friends would say to each other. But nowadays you couldn't make that because you're not allowed to say this to this person. You're not allowed to say that. This person has to be this. Nobody cared about anything like that. It was good music, good comedy, and good guard chases and stunts.
Yep. And good God, keep it on budget.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I just, it's a timeless classic, and I would definitely recommend anybody. There's no, I can't imagine anybody not liking this when they see it. Obviously, anybody with brains.
Yeah. And they didn't overdo it with the religious themes to it.
No, the religious theme, basically, you had a religious theme throughout it.
Yeah.
Like, you're on a mission from God. Don't you blaspheme?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and stuff like that. And then, but they would actually do the things like the penguin. Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't do blaspheme. And it's they basically, it wasn't over the top. The James Brown, one being the Reverend. It wasn't over the top. I don't think it was over the top.
It wasn't over the top for the time. That's what they actually sounded like in those churches.
But it had religious undertones, but it wasn't over the top because you still had Elwood and Jake making the jokes. Oh, Jesus Christ, feck! Slapping the penguins, slapping them backwards and forwards because they're blaspheming. They're swearing and they're blaspheming because they're getting hit and swearing, and it's a vicious cycle. But it wasn't really over the top. It was just the part of the premise. They were brought up as orphans. The orphanage was getting shut, and they wanted to make sure it continued because the diocese wanted to sell it for houses or whatever it was.
Especially the scene where they're going to track down the band members, and they go to that woman's house.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Are you police officers?" "No, man, we're musicians."
No, ma'am, we're musicians.
Yeah.
That one line got him the part of Dragnet for Dragnet.
Oh God, I forgot about Dragnet.
Yeah.
I actually thought Dragnet, considering it was sort of it was a bastardization of Dragnet itself.
Yeah.
They tried to make it a humorous.
They should have played it straight. They should have played it straight on the face of it, and it would have worked just as well as a comedy.
It would have worked as well as Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Yep. Yeah.
Because Steve Martin played that straight, and because he played it straight, it was a lot funnier. You look at Aeroplane, you had Leslie Nielsen playing it straight, and that made it funnier because you could see the joke in it. Whereas if they played Dragnet straight, it would have been. It's like Get Smart, the comedy, the TV show, not the movie, not the crap movie, the TV show.
The show was great.
Aye, that was great because Don. I was going about to say Don Amici, but it's Don Nolan. I can't even remember his surname. But he played it straight, and that's what made it a lot funnier.
Yep.
It didn't play it for humor. He didn't feed into the laughs. He just said what you would probably imagine someone saying in that situation. And I think Dragnet would have been funnier if they played it like that rather than trying to make it funny. But you're talking about people whose idea of what they think is funny. That's the problem. They think you have to tell a joke to be funny rather than have a situation that is funny.
Yeah, that was the beginning of some of the end of that. That we lost that pretty hard.
Yeah.
When
Still game, definitely would take me. Still game. Jack and Victor. I'll be the old one. he can be Winston. I'll cut his leg off. Sorry, that's a different thing. You need to know Still game to get those ones. And there's a thing, if you guys seen Still Game, Roman?
No.
I'm not familiar with that.
I'll give it a watch.
Do a search on YouTube. There's a couple of Still Game episodes on YouTube. That is Glasgow comedy from my neck of the woods.
Am I going to be able to understand them, PJ?
It went for 8 seasons.
Oh, wow.
And then they got a big hit recently because, see, when Squid Game came out, people were putting in Squid Game on YouTube, and it was doing recommendations Still Game because it was something game and began with an S. So they were recommending it, and people all over the world have found Still Game.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. That's okay. I'll give it a look.
You've got some of the same idea. Some old, a lot of the characters are people made up to look old. So these guys are in their 40s. The Isa, Jack, Victor, Winston, they're in their 40s, 30s, 40s, and they're all made up to look really old. But there is a couple of old Scottish character actors in there as well, and it's hilarious. It's one of those ones that I can't recommend enough. It is hilarious. Okay. It's about a bunch of old men and women. They're Still Game, hence the reason.
Yeah, it says it's on Netflix right now, Roman.
Yeah, but
I don't have Netflix.
No, but as I'm saying, YouTube. If you do search on YouTube, there's episodes here and there.
Okay,
there's full episodes, so there is. I would recommend that as well, but it's my neck of the woods, so it's funnier for me because I understand everything they're talking about. You've got the corner shop, Naveed's, and his wife is Mina, right? And she's constantly swearing, but she never speaks English. Neither she does, and they always subtitle what she's saying, but the subtitles are pure Scottish. And it's basically because we grew up we go into the corner shop, and it was the Pakistani or Indian, and they would talk to each other in whatever native language is. But we grew up with hearing that, so it wasn't a big issue that two people were talking to each other while they were talking to us. You know what I mean? We grew up with that. So the fact is, I can imagine Mina talking Indian but with a Scottish accent. I can just imagine it because I grew up with that all around me, and it was just part and parcel for the course. You need to see it. It's one of those things you need to have a look-see. Wen would actually advise it as well. She's seen it and she loves it. Don't you, Wen? I'm nodding for her as if I'm actually seeing it, but she will put Mina! Yeah, but I would definitely recommend that. But we'll start finishing off there. For the Blues Brothers, it is a full 10 out of 10 from everybody, except Jim. Well, but he's going to get a 15 out of 10, just because he fell asleep.
Yep. My snore translator says it's a 10 out of 10 from Jim as well. I could definitely, I've learned snore, so.
There you go. Crying with laughter. And that's Still Game. I've got a Still Game t-shirt or two, and I love Still Game. I've got the Still Game bag. I've got a pint mug, Still Game. It says 2 pints prick. They go into the bar, and the barman, Bobby, he'll say things like, "What do you want, Lauren Hardy?" And they'll say 2 pints prick. And it's just typical Glasgow banter backwards and forwards, as you know. But yeah. One of these days we're going to do a Still Game one. I think I'm going to put it on before the Christmas because next week we are. I'm just looking. Christ, where's my spreadsheet? It's terrible when I actually lose my spreadsheet. Because on Saturday we're back with Let's Talk Geeky. We are still there, and I'll be here, so Jim can fall asleep all he wants. No issues. And for next week we are looking at Alien Nation.
Ooh, nice.
So next week's Alien Nation, the week after, is my favourite. King Kong, 1933's King Kong.
Oh, wow.
And then for Halloween, we've got Beetlejuice. But I'm going to put Still Game in on the 30th of November. So because we've got a gap there. I'm going to put Still Game in. That way you have to at least watch an episode on YouTube for it. So, boys and girls, lads and lassies, thank you for joining us. We are going to end there. Thank you, guys. Jim, Stephen, Roman, and Alec, thank you for joining us and staying awake. Can't say that for everybody. Do you know what Jim needs right at this moment, Roman?
What does he need, PJ?
The Predator to turn up. That'll work.
Oh. I don't think Jim would necessarily appreciate that. I don't know if it would make it better.
We wouldn't know. We can come back into this stream in 5 hours' time, see if he's still on. But thank you, gents, for joining us for this great Blues Brothers. And remember, ladies and gents, I'm not old, I'm classic. PJ maybe and the guys out. Ta-ra.